Imagine you're living 100,000 years ago. There are no schools, no books, no doctors, and no biology classes. Yet somehow, humans figured out one of the biggest mysteries in existence. How are babies made? It sounds obvious today, but if you had never been taught anything about reproduction, would you immediately connect one event with another that happens 9 months later? The answer is probably no. So, how did our ancestors solve this mystery? The story is far more fascinating than you might think. For early humans, birth must have seemed almost magical. A woman would appear perfectly normal for months. Then her belly would slowly grow, and eventually, a tiny human would emerge. Without scientific knowledge, this looked like pure mystery. Many ancient cultures believed babies were gifts from spirits, gods, rivers, or the moon. Some tribes thought certain winds caused pregnancy, while others believed drinking special water or eating sacred fruits created children. These ideas weren't foolish, they were simply the best explanations people had before understanding biology. The biggest challenge was timing. Pregnancy lasts around 9 months, making it difficult to connect cause and effect. Humans naturally struggle to link two events separated by such a long period. But ancient humans weren't just survivors, they were incredible observers. Their lives depended on noticing patterns in the natural world. Every day, they watched animals around them. They saw deer mating, and months later, new fawns appeared. They watched wolves mate, and later wolf pups were born. The same sequence repeated with wild horses, elephants, monkeys, and countless other animals. Again and again, they observed the same pattern: mating first, babies later. Eventually, someone must have wondered, what if humans worked the same way? This wasn't a discovery made by one brilliant individual. It was the result of thousands of generations slowly connecting the dots through careful observation. As humans formed longer-lasting relationships, the pattern became even clearer. If a couple stayed together, pregnancy often followed. If they didn't, it usually didn't. The connection wasn't perfect. Sometimes pregnancy didn't happen, and sometimes it occurred unexpectedly. But after hundreds and thousands of observations, the relationship became impossible to ignore. Even without understanding eggs, sperm, or DNA, people realized that sexual intercourse and pregnancy were connected. They didn't know how it worked, but they knew that it worked. That's an important distinction. Understanding that a process exists often comes long before understanding the science behind it. Even after recognizing this connection, many mysteries remained. Why did some couples have children while others couldn't? Why were some babies boys and others girls? Why did some pregnancies end early? Without microscopes or genetics, people created stories to explain these unanswered questions. Some believed gods chose every child. Others thought ancestors returned as newborn babies. Many cultures believed the stars influenced pregnancy. Interestingly, these beliefs often existed alongside the knowledge that sex caused pregnancy. The two ideas weren't seen as contradictory. People believed both human actions and supernatural forces played a role in creating new life. The biggest scientific breakthroughs came much later. In 1677, Dutch scientist Antony van Leeuwenhoek and his colleague Johann Halm used one of the world's most powerful microscopes to examine human semen, leading to the discovery of sperm cells. Then, in 1827, German biologist Carl Ernst von Baer discovered the mammalian egg, also called the ovum. For the first time, scientists understood that females also produce reproductive cells. Eventually, researchers learned that reproduction begins when a sperm fertilizes an egg, combining DNA from both parents. Today, we understand reproduction at the level of cells, chromosomes, and genes, but all of that knowledge rests on something much older: observation. The very same skill our ancestors used to survive predators, track animals, predict the weather, and understand the natural world eventually helped humanity solve one of its greatest mysteries. The next time you think about human intelligence, remember this. Ancient humans didn't have laboratories. They didn't have textbooks. They didn't even have writing for most of history. Yet by carefully observing nature across countless generations, they uncovered one of life's deepest secrets. They proved something extraordinary. Curiosity, patience, and observation can reveal truths long before science explains them. And perhaps that's the greatest invention humanity ever developed. Not tools, not fire, but the ability to ask one simple question. Why? Because every scientific discovery begins there.